Good evening, everyone. You're welcome to the Parenting with Intention webinar. My name is Doinsola Olanio, and I'm your host for this evening, and I'm actually delighted to be doing this. I'm sure the question on most of us' heart is why the Parenting with Intention webinar? I often crack this joke with a few of my friends saying, I wonder when God gave us this beautiful gift, he didn't just drop a manual as well, miraculously. Like the day we confirmed pregnancy, or even the day you had them, they just handed you this manual at the labor ward saying, oh, this is the manual specific for your child, and it has everything you need to know. And as you go along, just flip the pages of this manual, and all the questions that you possibly would have on this journey are answered in this manual. Unfortunately, we do not have that manual. But one thing we have for sure is the ability to learn, ability to gain knowledge from other people who've gone ahead of us, ability to gain knowledge from other people who are actually experts in this field, who've actually gone ahead to study, to do research on how the mind of a child works and all the works. So basically, that's what this conversation is about. It's about learning, it's about unlearning, it's about creating a safe space for us to have conversations that matter regarding parenting. And that's what we're going to be doing this evening. Because I find that in adulthood, a lot of us are still recovering from the parental errors that our parents committed. And unfortunately, we are parenting in a generation that we might not be able to get away with such mistakes if we were to make them right now. So that's why we have Ebiere in our midst this evening. Trust me, Ebiere is the woman for the job. So this evening going to run. Can we just say hello to Ebiere? Welcome, Ebiere.
Hello. Excited to be here. Well, I can't see faces. Hello, Aisat. If I get anyone's name wrong, please correct me. My name is also tricky, but yeah. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Perfect. Okay.
So how is this evening going to run? When I sent off the registration details, I was able to curate a few questions, burning questions on the hearts of people, as well as burning question on my heart as well, because I'm also here to learn. And based off on that, we have questions that will serve as conversation starters. Ebiere will be our lead conversationalist. She'll be the one sharing the conversation, asking questions, and she will be answering them. And I'm sure that most of the burdens on your heart might be touched as we go on answering these questions. But then if you still have a burning question that we haven't touched on by the end of this session, you can ask a question. We will give some time to allow for questions.
Can I just ask if Doing is breaking, or is it my Wi-Fi? Because I haven't got the best Wi-Fi. Sorry.
It's breaking at times.
Aha. Okay. It's not mine. It's breaking at times, Doing, but we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Guys, please let me know if you can still hear me. Is that all loud and clear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We would start with the questions. I would ask Ebiere the questions, and then at the end of the session, if you still have a question that you think hasn't been addressed, please feel free to ask, and Ebiere would speak to the question. So we will get right to the job. Thank you so much for accepting to do this with me, Ebiere. I'm so grateful.
With pleasure. Thank you so much. I'll say a bit about myself because personally, when I go to listen to people, I kind of want to know who the person is, just to try. So I'll just say a bit about myself. And first of all, I really liked your introduction, but I love the way you always tell a story with everything. It's something I want to learn, Doyle. If I can learn that, I think it'll take my speaking to a different level. But yeah, so my name is Ebiere. I'm a teacher. I'm a classroom teacher. I like to specify that I'm a classroom teacher because I want you to feel the sweat I've been doing for 15 years in a classroom. But I love my job. I'm an A-level teacher, so I teach 16 to 18-year-olds. But I also obviously that puts me at the top of the school in terms of the age group. But then you have to work with them from year 7, which is JS1. So I'm very familiar with all of that. Then I have a business which is an after-school club with kids from primary school. So in my years of experience, I've worked with kids from age 4 all the way up to 18, and then I have 2 kids of my own. So obviously I've seen them so I have a lot, and I like what you said, because yes, I have the professional experience. I also have the deep interest. And I promise you, everything I know has come from learning, searching, wondering, asking those questions that we might brush aside and just see and not think. But I've asked, I want to understand, and we all have that in our particular passions. And this is my passion, where I want to understand the child because I really want to help them to be the best that they can be. So that sums me up in a nutshell. And I love what you said about the manual, because when I had my first son, I didn't even know how to bath him. I'd only carried one baby before my child, and I still have the picture. It was a very awkward, where the baby's head was kind of hanging. Thank God I didn't drop it. I wasn't a baby person. Until this day, you'll never see me go around babies, go, oh, good you. I don't think that way when I see children. I honestly see them as smaller versions of us. They are whole human beings like we are. And so when I relate to them, and I'll give you some perspectives that will really help you to see children. When you see children not as, oh, these little, things that we stroke and pet, and you see them as actually other human beings that you are helping and preparing. You're in charge of this human being that is going to do greater things than you. It changes your perspective. So that's kind of just a start to it, but I'll let you go with the questions.
See why I said that you're the woman for the job. Thank you so much. Because you're not just interested in helping children. I believe that you're also interested in helping parents and getting it right. And that's why you're here this evening. So we're going to go right into it. So when I sent you the topic, parenting with intention, what's the first thing that came to your mind? What does parenting with intention actually mean to you?
Sorry, what was the first thing that came to my mind?
Yes, and then what does parenting with intention mean to you?
Okay, you've just been muted. Okay, so for me, straight away, it made sense to me because actually, if you go on my Instagram page, my name is written as Raising Your Child on Purpose. And that was a name that came to me during my journaling. And I've always felt that, if we want to do anything right and do it successfully, we need to do it intentionally. Amazing things don't just happen by accident. You've got to you have to be aware of what you're not doing so well, what you could be doing better. So that's the intention bit. But as I was writing in my journal, and I was talking about how, I'm helping parents to raise their children to be successful. And it just all came together because my drive, what's always driven me from when I was a little kid, was purpose. I didn't know the name. I hadn't read Rick Warren. I remember the first time I read Rick Warren, The Purpose-Driven Life, at age 20 something. I cried for I don't know how long I cried for, because I couldn't believe I was reading, in a sense, my life. I've always been that child that felt, if I'm going to be doing this thing, there's got to be a purpose to it. The why child. And if I couldn't feel the why, you couldn't make me do it. So I was your typical, I'll get A's in subjects I love, and I'll just fail the others because I wouldn't even bother. Why am I doing it? That's an extreme case. But the point I'm making, so reason with a child with intention for me is raising your child on purpose for a purpose. So the intentionality is you're doing it intentionally on purpose, but you're raising them so that they can find their purpose. If you're not raising them so that they can live a life of purpose and find their purpose, then what are we raising them for? What are we doing? We're not just, what are we doing? So that's the main thing. Raising a child with intention means I'm doing it intentionally, and the purpose is so that they can find their purpose. That embodies real success for me, I think, in raising children.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for that. Right off the back of that is the next question. How then can we parent with intention? How then can we be intentional parents? How then can we be parents that raise on purpose for purpose?
It's still breaking up, but I think I got the question. How then can we be intentional parents? Now that's such a broad thing, but I'll try and summarize it. The first thing is knowing why you are parenting. And that's the perspective change I'm hoping that people will see. We are not actually, these children haven't been given to us so that we can bath them and look after them. And I think that perception of looking after has kind of clouded out. We almost feel like I'm here to protect you, do everything for you, take care of you, but that's not actually the purpose. That's something that you will do as you are fulfilling the actual purpose. So when the child has been, I believe that our children are given to us a gift from God. That's what I believe. But when he gives us that gift, he's asking us, saying to us, we are to raise them to be who he's called them to be. I really believe that there is something special. Like if I ask adults, and just tell me if you're able to respond, I'm assuming some of you might actually be with your children now, but if you're able to respond, just say, do you honestly believe that there is a purpose for your life? Please just put it in the chat if you think so. If you really, really believe that there's a purpose for your life, please just share with us. I want to try and get an idea of who I'm speaking with. If anyone can just respond in the chat and say, yes, if you think there's a purpose of your life, yes, okay. Kenny feels there's a purpose for her life. Anybody else that thinks there is a purpose? Yes, Olaide, okay. Anyone else that thinks there's a purpose? I just want to try and get, so that's 2 people. So maybe I'm bringing something new here. Yes, Bim, okay, thank you. And again, when you think about, thank you, Olufemi, thank you, Jumake. Okay, more people believe that. Okay. So if we believe that there's a purpose for our lives, can you just, again, if you're able to answer me, when do you think that purpose was given to you? At what age do you think that purpose was put in you? That purpose for your life. Thank you, Tolu. When do you think that, at birth? That's the perspective. Anyone else? Thank you, Olaide, at birth. Anyone else that feels that as early as I can remember? Okay. Anybody else? When did God give the purpose for us? The purpose that we now believe we have. Some of us might still be on the journey of finding it right from birth. Okay. Now, I hear your answers, but at least I'm not hearing anybody say the purpose for my life was given to me at age 21 when I turned 18 and became officially an adult in the eyes of the world. Okay. All right, but you don't discover it. Okay, I might come back to that. You don't discover it until later, okay? But the key thing is nobody's saying to me that the purpose is given, your purpose for your life, God gave it to you when you got married. Nobody said the purpose for your life was given to you when you graduated from university. We're all saying at birth. Okay, that already gives you a hint that your children have a purpose. So if we're not raising them for them to discover that purpose, then what are we doing? Isn't this the most important thing? Those of us who don't know what our purpose is are confused and are not very settled. We might have what the world would consider successful jobs, but we're not really happy. So if we really want our children to be happy, then is it not to help them find their purpose? But let me challenge that at birth thing, okay? Before I knew you, you know where I'm going. Before I knew you, or before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you. You know that verse in Jeremiah, before I formed you, I knew you. Before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you. What does that mean? Okay, I set you apart. Now think about that very clearly. And I'll tell you how the Holy Spirit explained that verse to me, because we all know it. We all know it. Someone can even quote it better than me if I'm doing it half and half. Before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you. Before I set you apart. Okay, exactly. So we all know that verse, but I'll tell you how he explained it to me. I was talking to my husband about a business idea, and oh my gosh, we went back and forth on the business, back and forth on the business idea. You know how it is now. Oh, this one, how did it work? We did this. What didn't we do? And I just made a comment to my husband. I said, by the time this business comes out, people will think we just created it today, not knowing how long we've been designing this. And as I said that, I thought, oh my gosh, this is what this verse means. Before I formed you, I knew you. Before this business comes out, we know this business back. We know everything about it. We know, in fact, we know it so well. We are designing it for the purpose we wanted to achieve. That child that was, and in fact, God said, before I put you in your mother's womb, he knew the womb to put that child in. Design that child for the purpose he had already given that child before he formed it. You don't form something without having a purpose for it. How do you begin to form? How do you begin to design a business if you don't know what you're doing it for? How do you begin to form something if you don't have a purpose? So before he formed us in the mother's womb that he chose, he knew us. We had that purpose before he started forming us and putting us where he wanted to be from the country he wants to be from the family, to be from the mother, whatever it is, all by design. When you see it from that perspective, you will look at your child. I don't mess with my children. When I look at them, I'm like, man, I'm not messing with what God has put in this child, because quite frankly, I don't know. But whatever he put it before he chose me to put the child through. So there is a purpose. when we're raising them, it's for them to find their purpose. So that's one thing I want you to look at. Please don't look at your children anymore as I'll bath, feed them, send them to school. Somebody else will get, no, no, no. I don't look at my kids that way. In fact, my kids know this. I've said this to them. My job is not to look after you. My job is to teach you how to look after yourself. And I go further and I'm teaching you how to be the best you, because only the best you is what will be good for anybody. Me, you, your wife in future. I've got 2 boys, wife, the world. It's only the best you. So, and I don't know what that is. Now, let me go on to say, there's another comment that said, we'll find out in future. I don't necessarily agree with that. I feel like you could find a lot of you when you find your purpose. Think about it. When you find those people that found that know what their purpose is, it wasn't a big. When you found it, you thought, "Oh my gosh, that was me when I was a child." Can we? If anybody agrees or doesn't agree, I want to hear that. Is there anyone who has found what God calls them to do, and they're like, "This is nothing to do with when I was a child. I was nothing like this. This is strange." Or can you see where it came from in your childhood? Again, I would love your response.
I can always connect the dots. Yes, for me personally, I can I've always been walking in this line, summing up to where I'm at now. So yes, the dots do connect.
Absolutely. Yes, I agree with you. And anyone else agrees, think about it. When you find your purpose, you will say, oh my gosh, it's always been there. So I don't like the idea that, when I see the people, yes, I agree, Dory. Unfortunately, you might have to check your connection, but I will carry on as you sort that out. I'm so sorry. It's hard to hear you. But anyway, so when people are at I call it old age, Joe. I'm in my 30s, but I honestly, yes, thank you, Kenny. Tracking purpose for me always required me going down memory lane for everybody. I call 20s, 30s old age. When we're looking for our purpose at that age, I'm like, in our old age, we're seeking our purpose, something that should have been so clear to us as children. But you see, that's the problem. If we raise them with intention to find their purpose, then actually they will start to see and make sense of things from their childhood. It shouldn't be something that we're asking somebody in future, please help me find my purpose. No, our parents should have been laying the foundation for us to acknowledge, oh, I love to write. Oh, I love this. And even if you don't nail it when you're a child, you will hold on enough to your gift and your talent and your experiences. You will hold on. If you're in a faith family, you will know that, okay, God has given you a purpose. My children know that they have a special purpose. You will know that your design is linked to your purpose. You will know that so that you don't ignore things, and you will know that what you feel inside of you is most important, actually. And that's just something to help you. So please, as we look at, I don't care how young our children are, think about Samuel in the Bible. Think about Jesus when he turned around to his parents and said, do you not know? Please, when we look at those precious gifts, if something is a gift from God, then is it just going to be anyhow? It's something special. So if we can just have that different perspective and look at our children in that way, that, you know what? God has put a purpose. I'm going to help you find it. Okay, Dorian, sorry. I'll let you, I can go on and on, so cut me at any point. Yes, absolutely, Kenny. Jesus in the temple scenario. So yes, absolutely. You always know. You too, Kenny, always knew. I'll tell you why we don't always, we're not sure. I'll tell you why as adults, we're not sure. You always knew. I'll tell you why later on as adults, you're not sure, but I'll let Don carry on. Don't worry, because we can kind of hear you. So.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. All right then. Like if I heard anything that you've said, you really were speaking to our perception of this call of parenting. We need to recognize as parents that we've been called to a higher call. It's not just
it's not bathing and feeding.
It's not a matter of breastfeeding. It's not a matter of bathing them. Like the way we see our children, we need to change our view. We need to change our viewpoint. We need to start to see them the way God sees them. We need to start to pray like, God, can you open my eyes to see the things that you have put inside this child for the future? Can you open my eyes to see how I will best nurture this child, how I will best parent this child on purpose? Those are the kind of prayers that we pray now, because Because if we fully understand that God has a purpose for that child, we would step in differently. We would act differently. I just imagine if Bill Clinton or Bill Gates, the Bill Gates of this world, their parents knew from the beginning who they were going to be in the future. I'm wondering the things they might have done differently or the things they might not have done, right? Like, and unfortunately, we often think that, oh, sometimes you see some things in retrospect, ability to carve a path now. We also have the ability to steward their gifts right, to nurture their potential right, and to set them right on the right track from this age, from this point. It's not too early to start doing this. This is all I'm getting from what you're saying this evening. And really, it's making me reflect on the things that I've been doing as well as a parent. And that Jesus in the temple scenario that Kenny brought up as well, so spot on. So spot on, makes us to reflect. Like, I'm about my father's business, but his parents may have lost sight of it in that minute. They may have lost sight. They felt like, oh, they have become caretakers. They have become caretakers of him and have lost sight of the fact that this is a thing for our life on purpose, for a purpose. And now we're stopping him. We're trying to be a stumbling block in him achieving the very thing that God had sent him into our lives for. Wow. Thank you so much for that. So we're going to go on to the next question. And we're going straight to the deep end, guys. Straight to the deep end. Let's talk about discipline and boundaries. Let's talk about discipline and boundaries. Ebiere, I attended one of your webinars. It was tagged "No Shouting Parenting." And I'm like, oh my God, what is Ebiere on about? Like, what do you mean that we shouldn't shout? Like, how possible is it? How realistic is it? Like, discipline and boundaries. A lot of the parents here, this is a conversation they want to have. Because it just seems like if you our parents used to say, spare the rod and spoil the child. Do you believe in the rod as the only means of correction? And if you do not believe in the rod as the only means of correction, what are things that we can adapt as parents? What are the other methods that we can adapt as parents to ensure that discipline, our children go on the right track?
Okay, right. Let's just get right into it. So, discipline and boundaries. Again, I hope we're all aware that these are big topics. So even the first one I answered, I can go on and really give you the details. So this is another big topic. But I'm going to try today to just hit the key points and hope that that sets something rolling in you. So first of all, spare the rod and spoil the child is not in the Bible. I hope we know. I'm just checking that we know. If you didn't know, don't confess because it might look somehow. Don't worry, just know it's not there, okay? There's no such thing as spare the rod and spoil the child. It was taken and turned, and of course, we have used it to justify some kind of discipline that actually, okay, let me just put a few things in our mind now. Spare the rod and spoil the child doesn't mean beat your child and doesn't mean smack your child. It actually doesn't mean that, even though that phrase is not in the Bible, right? I know in Proverbs, there's something about the rod. If anyone can get me, I need to start memorizing verses more when I'm doing these things, but if anyone can help with that, that would be great. But people have now taken the rod to mean a stick or some other kind of, so in fact, when you use your hand, you're now like, at least I didn't use stick or belt, I used my hand, and try and justify yourself. But actually, I was even thinking about it. If we're really supposed to be hitting our kids as a way of disciplining them or smacking them to discipline them, why have I not once in the Bible seen, and Jacob slapped all 11 brothers when Joseph didn't come home? Oh, and Moses just gave Joshua. There's no message of any kind of hitting as a way to teach or correct. Okay, so for me, I learned this from I think it was probably from Joseph Prince or Miles Monroe. Those are two people I listen to a lot, actually. And Jimmy Evans. Jimmy Evans is great for family and parenting, but more relationships. I listen to those three people a lot. And they always said, one of them says, use the Bible to interpret the Bible. Okay, I'm making a sweeping assumption that everybody here is Christian. Even if you're not, that's my faith. So I use that a lot to try and help. So I do apologize if it's not connecting for some people, but if you're saying spare the rod, what does the rod mean in the Bible? And I remember when I said to you, I asked the questions I'm uncomfortable with. I asked them, please, if you do that more, you'll find answers. So I do that, and I was asking, I said, God, so this spare the rod, what does it mean? Use the Bible to interpret the Bible. And the verse that came to me straight away, Psalm 23. Now, I just want to remind us of that place where it says, even though I walk in the valley of the shadow. Wait, oh, that sounds very scary to me. Even though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I am not afraid. I fear no evil. Why? Because my Lord is with me. His rod and staff comfort me. And when I saw that, straight away, I realized that in the scariest place in your life, the psalmist is not afraid because he knows that his God is his Father, is with him. In fact, what is so comforting to him is his rod and staff. So if you understand the rod and staff to actually be something that comforts a child, your mind will start moving away from hitting as a way of disciplining. So again, yes, he that spareth his rod hated his sons. His rod, good. But he that loveth him, chastening him in, let me read that all. Okay, good. So again, it still doesn't tell us that the rod is for hitting. It doesn't say that, because you can see another part of the Bible where it talks about the rod being comfort. Okay. Then again, the other place that we see the rod again, a lot in the Bible, like with Aaron's rod and all of that, it's a symbol of authority. In my classroom, I'm the authority. I'm in my home, me and my husband, we are the symbol of authority. And in fact, the fact that I'm in charge gives my children, gives my students comfort. They know if anything is going rocky and I come in, they know that, this thing is going to be okay. And you know what gives children peace? It's actually structure, boundaries, teaching, helping them to know right from wrong. And you don't teach anybody anything by scaring them. You don't actually. Fear is not a teacher. So that rod is authority. And actually, we are supposed to be creating structure for them. Children don't like when there's no structure. And anything goes. No, don't do that. Don't let anything go. Fear is not a teacher. It's not, don't let anything go, because they will not like you for it. They want discipline. Discipline, though, again, where does discipline come from? Discipleship, teaching, training. And how did Jesus discipline the 12? Modeling. That's what we're supposed to do. We create a structure and we model. They follow us, they go around with us, they see how we do things. They see how we respond. They see how we behave. So the best way to teach your kids is through modeling. And this is why I said a lot of these things are whole sessions, and I can go deeper, but that's the summary of it. You are to create a structure for them, set boundaries for how you do things together as a family. And then in that space, you are teaching. The best way to teach. Hello. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I love the sound of a baby. It sounds like a happy baby. Okay, so again, you want to be modeling things for them so that they can see how to behave. When they go wrong, he shall not die. Aha. Okay, so these are different versions. If you can tell me what version that would be great, because we can talk about again. I believe if you think about it, and we have to be very aware of this thing, KJ. I'm not surprised. But anyway, let's respond to that. So again, interpretations and looking at it as beaten. So therefore, if that interpretation actually means, because in a sense, you might see me as beating you. I can beat you with my words, the effect of what I'm saying. But again, you have to think about it as the rod. If the whole purpose is for hitting to correct, then this should be more commonplace. We should see it all over the Bible, encouraging us to hit to correct. But actually, if you think about it, it's about teaching. It's about discipling and modeling, okay? And the best thing for you to do is think about it this way. If your children are in fear mode, there's scientific things I can explain to you that help you understand nobody learns anything under duress. When you're scared, when you're afraid, you don't learn. All you get eventually with the children, and think about it, if this is what you received, you have to think about eventually what you get with a child is either compliance, or they're not learning. So they just succumb, not the word, they just succumb to what you're saying. So again, you're suppressing who they truly are, or you get rebellion. You will eventually get rebellion. So the best thing you want to do is teach and model. I can explain that much more detail later. So please, I don't think, and I wouldn't say that beating the child to teach them is the right thing to do. Okay, at the same time, without going into too much detail, suppression of, yeah, that's what tends to happen. And it doesn't actually work that way. At the same time, if you've ever, smacked your child or whatever, I'll just respond by saying something. Don't think that whatever you've done that wasn't so right is the fate of the child. No, please don't even if you put yourself in that. If I believe that all the bad things I've done in parenting my children meant that they are destined for failure, I won't be able to be here talking to you. We're not perfect. We do things, we make mistakes. But so let's not think about it that way. But let me just address one more thing to do with how we discipline our children. If we honestly, let's say, for example, you were a parent that you might be sitting there, I'm just assuming there might be one or two people sitting there thinking, please, there's nothing wrong. You can smack your child to correct them. Like, what if they're going to do something dangerous? You can smack them. So I just want to respond, yes, absolutely. Child and the rod of correction. Correction, how do you correct them? Doesn't necessarily mean beating. Again, okay. So again, let me just respond. If you feel like, look, I should be able to, if I want to smack my child, then I can. I just want to respond to that. I agree with you, okay? That if you choose that, you know what, I want to smack my, but let me help you put some boundaries around the smacking. If your smacking is out of your anger, don't do it. So we've accepted that, okay, yeah, I could choose to use smacking to correct them, but let's put some boundaries around it. If it's out of your anger and your frustration, then you're not teaching the child. You are pouring your anger out on them. You're not teaching them. Okay. If your anger is if your smacking is out of impatience, because you're frustrated, you're stressed, whatever is happening, your own feeling or emotion, don't do it. You are not teaching the child any correction. You are teaching them that the way to use your anger when you're angry is to hit people, especially the people you love. That's what you're teaching them. What of the strong-willed child? I will talk about the strong-willed child. Yes. Okay. So again, so don't do it if that's your case. Again, if you think, okay, I want to smack my child, but actually, if you are smacking the child to stop them from maybe smacking their sibling or something like that, don't do it. You're teaching them to smack. They're not learning anything. So again, you have to look at the purpose of what you're doing it for. What is the desired purpose? I remember one time with my child, and this was the time, and it was very specific. Whenever there was a time I actually hit my child, I'll tell you about it so that you don't feel. And he was quite young. I used to have this thing that when they're one, I'll do that. When they're two, I'll do that. When they're three, I do that. I used to do that with them. And the reason why I did it that way was because I was trying to say to them, I needed them to understand what was going on. And I did not want to hurt them. But they knew that I was correcting. Oh, no, don't do that. And again, it had to be over something. It was never over something like, I want you to do something, you're not doing it, so I smack. That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, how do you smack me because I'm not doing what you're asking me to do? That's not a reason to hit me. So again, it was very intentional about what it was for. It was very intentional that it doesn't cause any hurt, but was also very intentional that the child was aware. So there was never any avenue for me to lose my temper because it was very guarded. We've spoken about this, now, there you go. And it doesn't matter. You don't even have to hit them before they cry. Your children don't want to upset you. They just see you upset. You understand? So there are other ways. We have to be very careful. We're not transferring not just our anger onto them. We're not transferring the anger of our parents. You don't realize, I've had conversations with parents where they've said to me, oh my goodness, I cannot believe what I just did to my child. I vowed that after what my parents did and how they hit me and all this kind of stuff, I vowed I'd never do that to my children. How did I find myself here? And I explained a simple thing to them, right? Our brains are magnificent. So again, just think about it. When you were a child, some of you would have learned to ride a bike. You learn to ride a bike when you're a child, for example, and that pattern, what you learned, is stored in your brain, is there. It doesn't go. 20 years, you've never seen a bike. And then someone presents a bike to you at age 30 or something like, oh, I used to ride one of those. And you decide that, okay, let me just have a go. Can I do it? And initially you stumble, you wobble, and then, oh, it comes back to you because the memory is embedded in your brain. All you needed was a bike to bring it back. Same way, what happened to you as a child with your parents reacting by hitting you with anything or anyhow is embedded in your brain. It's there. The next time that bike is presented to you, the only difference is that you are the adult and you've got a child. So when similar patterns come in your child, where a child just spills something or doesn't answer straight away, and you didn't, it's not something you would have thought, it was subconscious, and that's the worst. When you're not even thinking, there's no intention. It just comes from anywhere. That rage, it's embedded in your memory. This is why I say to parents, and you see why, the reason why I was even comfortable to do the 1, 2, 3 is because in my own case, I wasn't smacked as a child. So I didn't have those hiccups. So actually, if you had that smacking as a child, I'll actually say to you, be more intentional not to do it, because it will be coming from what you got. And when it's subconscious, it's worse because you're not even in the right mind at that time. Just so you know, I'm not perfect. Whilst I didn't get the physical abuse, I got a lot of the emotional. I just thought I'd put that out there so you don't think, this one just came out. Right. I feel like I should pause because I'm yeah. Do you want to come back? I don't know how much I've covered.
Well, I think so. But I just need to kind of interject and sum things up a bit.
You might have to. Can you take that again? Going. Sorry.
I said that's been a lot. I just feel I need to kind of interject and gradually sum things up. So if I understand what you're saying to us this evening, you're saying that first of all, we need to recognize and set boundaries. You said something. You said children have peace when there's structure. So when there is no structure in our homes, you should not blame them for your lack of structure. You should not blame your child for your lack of structure. So the first responsibility as parents is that we need to set structure. And structure comes as boundaries. We need to set boundaries. Yes. We need to create boundaries. And then the next step now comes to saying we now have to have instituted, in a sense, policies that when a child flouts a boundary that we have commonly set and agreed to, what are the mechanisms that we would need to now, what are the things that we will do to course correct? Okay, so
consequences.
What are the consequences of you flouting the boundaries? What are the consequences that you get? And if I hear everything you're saying that the consequences necessarily doesn't have to be spanking. Spanking can be one of the things that you do, but it doesn't necessarily have to be spanking. It can be withdrawal of benefits. It can be anything that works for you in your own context as a family, but it doesn't necessarily have to be spanking. And you said something really profound where you spoke to the fact that we need to guard against spanking in our heat of rage. We need to guard against spanking when we're most upset. We need to guard against that because we're just transferring our own frustrations, our own anger onto the child. We're not necessarily responding to something they have done. It's about our expectations. It's about our feelings. I am angry and I'm beating you because I am angry. But then in that moment, I still feel to ask a question off the back of that. When my child does something that flouts a boundary and gets me upset, how do I distinguish that from the fact that I am upset, I am frustrated, I am angry? What's the line there?
I love that because that's the intentionality. The first thing you do, so when I do this webinar on no more shouting and all that, what I mean is no more shouting, no more hitting, no more dumping your anger on your child. So the first thing is you've got to notice your triggers. What are your hiccups? What are the things that you just can't take? So you notice what those triggers are. Sorry, I think I'm getting a little bit. Okay, thank you. So so you notice what your triggers are, because your triggers, guess what, are your triggers. They're not your child's. They're things that you can't take. So once you know what those are, you have to now do some work on your own. Reflection. I've gone through all of this because I was a shouter. Guess what? That's why I said no more. That's why my webinar wasn't called No More Beating, because I wasn't really a beater. I didn't have that. I had the shouting and the words. I had that as a child. So that's why I really went on this no more shouting thing, losing your temper, but people lose it in different ways. So know what your triggers are. What sets you off? When do you tend to lose your temper the most? Is it after a long day at work? Is it when your child is interrupting your own agenda? Is it when they don't listen to you 2 times? Is it? Determine what sets you off. You need to do some work on your own and find out why it sets you off. Because guess what? If you need to get to the party or get to the school at 8:30, that's your problem. That's not the child's plan. They don't know your day. You might wake up with an agenda. I need to do this so I can do this. The child doesn't know. So that's your thing. So you have to understand what sets you off, make a note of it, and plan your response before you meet the situation. You have to plan how to handle it. You can even go further by visualizing your response. When it's bath time and my child starts to run away from the bath instead of to the bath, this is what I'm going to do. And trust me, the reason why you're making those efforts is because you're trying to teach them something. If you don't look after yourself and prepare yourself before the situation arises, your subconscious will take over. I love to use diets as well. When we say we want to do a diet, whatever, but we don't plan the food, we don't do the shopping. The minute you walk past a donut, you're done. You're going to eat it. So this is the thing. You have to plan, prepare, and know when this situation arises, how am I going to deal with it? The best thing about setting boundaries is set it with your children. Your job as parents, our job, and what I had to learn is that it's my responsibility to create the environment for my children to succeed in. I create the environment for them to succeed. I want them to succeed. So I set it up in a way that they can be successful. Whatever I need to do to set it up, I create it. And because they're human beings, remember, they're not children, they're human beings that have their own will. They will possibly go against what I would like. I had to be prepared to teach them and show them how to stay within the boundary. And if they insist on crossing that boundary, we will follow the consequences that we agreed together. That's basically, so you have to be prepared, you have to reflect. And a lot of times you will find that the things you lose your temper with are actually not your child's problem. They're actually things that you're dealing with internally from your past. Could be from marriage. I'm not even lying. It could be from work, your boss. It could be other things. Your boss doesn't listen to you. Maybe your spouse doesn't really listen to you when you're talking, doesn't take you seriously. You feel like, oh, in my home, nobody takes me seriously. My parents never took me seriously. Then your child, you now tell them something day to day, like, hey, you too. And you're the only person I can come down heavy on because I can't shout at my boss. I can't dare shout at my spouse. I can't go back to mommy and dad, but I will show you. That's the problem. Do you understand? So it's not, yeah. So I'm trying my best to keep it shorter. Come on, Tony.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. So identifying your triggers, identifying the things that set you off, identifying those times that you lose it the most. Is it bath time? Is it meal times? And planning and preparing around those times would actually really help a lot. Thank you so much for clarifying that bit, because I just needed to get clarity as well on that bit. Like, okay, yes, I get angry, but what if it is because they are crossing the boundaries? Why shouldn't I now react out of my anger? So yes, thank you so much for clarifying that. We will move right ahead to the next question. So the strong-willed child, kind of asked, it was as though she predicted that we were coming there. The strong-willed child, I have one in my house as well. So I think this session, the strong-willed child, potentially a parent's greatest nightmare. I mean, everyone wants a child that just complies. We want a child that we say, sit down there, and the child sits down without any question or reasoning. I said, okay, mommy, I'll sit down here. But then the strong-willed child, how do we parent a strong-willed child?
Okay, guys, again, changing our perspective helps. The strong-willed child is a blessing. A child that would resist actually and ask you why. I'm telling you, if you look at your lives, it's where you asked why to understand. It doesn't make you rude or rebellious. That's something that we were told that's not actually true. You want the strong-willed child. You don't actually want a compliant child. It's scary. When I see a child that doesn't question what I'm saying, I'm worried. I'll tell you, my son, one of them, I said to him, Mommy doesn't want you to play football anymore. I was testing him and I said, I don't want you to play football anymore. He said, why? I said, because I'm busy. And quite frankly, taking you around all this training, it's taken too much of my time. And I would like to be able to have more time for myself. And what's the big deal with football? And you could see his face like, this is not my mother. What is she saying? I said, I know you love me. And if I asked you not to play football anymore, would you please, for me, just stop? And in my heart, I was like, God Almighty, please, I hope this child does not say, yes, mommy, I'll do anything for you, because that would just be I will know that I've messed up. I don't want my children to kill their dream for me or anybody. That strong-willed child is resisting because what is being projected on them outside is not what's inside of them. That's what it is. They don't want, what is being projected is not what's inside. If my child has, and he's such a lovely, calm boy, and he looked at me and said, Mommy, are you serious? Are you serious? I said, yes, I'm serious. And I was just praying. And then he said, Mommy, I can't do it. And I was like, yes. He said, I can't do it, Mommy. And he was almost like begging that I just can't do it. We can find a way to find you more time, but I can't do it. And I hugged him and I said, you will look, Abraham, Isaac, come on, guys. Okay, so that strong-willed child is actually resistant. The only reason why is because, as I said to you, what's being projected on them is not what's within them. You have to explain to them what's going on. They are strong-willed because maybe more than another kind of child, they know. I tell you, every child knows who they are. I'm telling you now. By the way, I don't want to jump. Okay, let me try and stay on topic. Every child knows who they are. Every time you speak to them from the outside in a way that doesn't connect with what's inside, they're gonna push back. They're gonna push back. So I'll tell you another. So that's what the strong-willed child is, and you need that, because the reason why the strong-willed child is such a blessing is because you will find out who they are better if you let them. For you to break down the strong-willed child and suppress who they are on the inside, you will really have to come down heavy on this child. You will have to really heavy-handedly squash them. Okay, that's how bad you will have to do it. And because they will resist and resist, eventually they will either be suppressed because you really came down heavy on them, or they will rebel. I teach 16 to 18-year-olds. I have seen how, when you see them at 16 to 18, I know what happened to them when they were younger. I can see it. When you have that child that's saying, but no, mommy, this is what, explain to them. Remember, your job is to teach them how to be. And your job is to help them find their purpose. If you are trying to suppress who they are, they're not going to find out who they are. It would take longer. And what happens when we're living a life that is not our lives? We are resentful. We are bitter. We are not happy. And when you ask every parent, what do you want for your child? I want them to be happy, successful. So let them be who they were meant to be. My child, so I have strong-willed children. One of them wants to, please me more. Can I just guess that your strong-willed child is not your firstborn? I'm guessing, or this is not pure science. But can I guess, is your first strong-willed child your first?
Unfortunately, they're twins. So.
Okay. So again, your second, I knew it. I guess it's probably not your first. There is something, your second, you see now. I see. Guys, honestly, I'm not a magician. I just have so much experience. I'm not going to lie to you. You see, second. Because they've seen what you've done to the first and they're like, nope, you're not doing this one to me. That's what it is. My strong-willed child is my second as well. Yes. Both, both. I love it. You're lucky. Let them. And I was the strong-willed child. I'm the second. Because there's something called mirror neurons. If there are any scientists, they've seen, they can see what's happened. And they're like, no, 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 no. I'm going to. And they are right. Let them. The kids, all they're doing, I have something I always say to myself: let your child show you who they are. They are expressing themselves. Let me tell you something, you can see me and I've come on this show and I'm ready, I'm dressed up, everything. You don't know me until I speak. You don't, and even when I speak, you don't know me until you have to connect with what's inside for me to show you who I really am. And because we're talking on my passion, which is something I love, you're getting to know me quicker than people that meet me and ask me, where'd you get a top from? They don't get to know me. So if you want to know your child, you've got to let them tell you, because they will show you who they are. They will speak. I let my child, I don't, this whole thing, I'm one of those very neat, tidy, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm not. It's fine. My second child wants to build a den in my living room. Let him build, because that's all he wants. He wants to build. He wants to build anywhere. So stop. Your living room is not that precious. Oh no, but it has to be. No, it's fine. Where do you want them to build this den? It's their home. Before I had children, you will not see you will not see any mess. But now I have them. I have a child who wants to build all the time and create stuff and wants to do imaginative play and wants the den to stay for 2 days and wants to create stuff. And he doesn't see things. One of them is so tidy and everything is very tidy. The other one wants things spread around all the time. I had to respect that. So whilst me, I can tidy my room every day. That's my room. The one who likes to tidy, let him tidy. And the one who likes to spread their things out. The rule is simply this. I say to him, by bedtime, when mommy is coming to read to you, I would like this place to be tidy so that I can get to your bed, because I don't want to stand on Lego. Do you understand? So I'm not saying to him, what's all this? Pack up, tidy, mess. I've tried that before where I said, what's this mess? And straight away, tears, anger, the strong water, angry tears. And he was like, what? These are my toys. And his point was that these are his creations. These are the things. He creates things. And by the way, because I do all this reading, I've read the geniuses. They don't regard their toys as toys. They continue to create up to whatever age. This child might be showing me some kind of sign of being some kind of production I don't know. And I want to suppress it because I want a tidy room. God forbid. No way. I'll let him be who he's supposed to be. And so he knows now. Sometimes he even say to me, okay, mommy, can we read in my brother's room? Or I'll say, no, we're reading in your room tonight. And I have to get there without breaking my toe. So please. But again, Saturday morning is our inspection time. And most times, we don't always get it right on Saturday morning, but Saturday morning, we've agreed that we would tidy up. So we tidy up together and they get to stand. I've got 2 boys and they get to stand by their bed and I'm going to get the prize for the neatest bedroom and all that kind of stuff. Make it a fun game. So that's the rule. After we've done the tidy up, he will do as he wants to mess up if he wants to. But again, interject if I'm going on, but I'm going to stop there. I feel like, okay, let me pause there.
You're so spot on. That's why I'm not interjecting. I think that's the essence of this conversation. Really, we're trying to get clarity. We're trying to get you to speak to pressing issues on our hearts. So me interjecting will not be of help. And if I really get what you're saying, it's all about managing the expectation as parents.
Sorry, take that again, the last bit.
I said, if I really hear what you're saying, it's about managing our expectation as parents.
Yes.
It's about realizing, choosing what matters to you, choosing your battles. Do I want a clean space over nurturing my child's gifts, right? The same way you can decide to overlook some things. I mean, I think a friend of mine, and we're having a conversation, and she was saying to me that her son was playing with toothpaste and she lost it on him. And then her husband said to her, but you played with toothpaste as a child. Did you play with toothpaste as a child or not? So why is this now triggering you? Because now you're this neat person. It's your way or the highway. No other person is allowed to dirty your space. No other person is allowed to do things differently. But the only way they we're going to get to know them is to see how they are in their natural habitat, to see how they react in their environment. But then if we're suppressing the opportunity that we have to know them, if we're suppressing the opportunity that we have for them to put their gifts on display, then we are not parenting with intention. So I guess that for me, this is also saying to me, Doinsola, choose your battles. Like, clean space,
Yeah.
getting to know this child. But then, like you said,
Mm-mm.
then Saturday morning is clean up time. And at that point in time, if you flout the rules, you
Yes.
will get the consequences for flouting the rules. Like, this is really, really eye-opening.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think sometimes as parents, I think the difficulty that we're faced with is
Yeah.
not the difficulty of our children, but it's actually
No,
our own
it's
difficulty.
us. Thank you.
It's our own difficulty. The difficulty we are faced with is our own expectations. My way, I
Yes.
want this, I want
Yes.
that. And it's our selfishness and our self-centeredness. And we think that it's only in
Yes.
marriage that we're supposed to lay things down, and we're supposed to die to self to get to know our partners. But these children that God has given to us as gifts as well, we will need to lay down essential parts of ourselves. We will need to die to selfishness and self-centeredness if we're going to accommodate them into our space.
Can I say something quickly? And why do we have to do that? Because we are getting to know a fellow human being. I want to bring this back. Not cutie little chicky chicky children. These are human beings, and we have to treat them like any other human being that we're getting to know. I just wanted to bring us back to that thinking. Sorry, carry
They
on.
are human beings. They are human beings, and we're getting to know other human beings, and not toys, and not dolls, and not ornaments that were given to us to come and grace our space. So I think that's been absolutely spot on. I think refocusing our perspective, seeing them as a blessing,
Yes.
seeing managing our
Yes.
expectations to go a long way in helping. Okay, so we'll move on to the next question. Routine.
Okay. I'm just sorry. I just need to. I'm getting distracted by the noise. There's a sound. Oh, I think it's allow. Allow. Can you mute your mic? We can hear you.
Oh, I'm really sorry.
It's okay, please. It's okay. Thank you. Okay.
So I'm going to go to the next question, and the next question is about routines, right? I think
Oh,
moving to the UK for me has been an eye opener. It's not like we didn't have routines in Nigeria when we were in Nigeria. We did have routines, but then we had such a wide support system. You could have two nannies, and it will not cost you an arm and a leg to have two good nannies in Nigeria. But then moving here has been different, and it's really just the four of us: my husband, myself, and the two kids. So, how do we create routines? How do we sustain routines? And how do we ensure that, in a sense, like your children don't flout the routines?
okay. That's a great question. And for me, I live in the UK and I had my children here. So it's always been my husband and my two children. I've never had a nanny. And honestly, I think I'll be honest with you, I think that's a huge blessing because the children are getting to see firsthand how to actually live. Remember, I said to you, our job is not necessarily to look after them. Of course, when they're babies, of course, but we're trying to teach them to be successful human beings, how to look after yourself. So my kids were, the things that people will say, like, dressing themselves up from whatever age. I didn't dress them up from 3 or maybe younger in some cases, actually maybe younger, dressing themselves up, showering themselves, getting themselves ready. So all that is because we didn't have that kind of support system. I remember even when my first child was born, I intentionally said to my mom, I love you, but you're not welcome here in the first few weeks because I was not going to have a situation where, my mom comes straight away, starts looking after the child and me looking, then my husband is not sure where to place himself because when that happens, the husband doesn't quite know. And then it's like, okay, how do I then, when the mother goes, it now becomes you and the child because in the initial stages, the husband wasn't involved. That's what a lot of people find. So I said to my mom, no, for the first few weeks, please don't come. And even when you come, help with the things you want to help with. But my husband and I will really look after the kids. And it was intentional because from day one, my husband and I were both learning together because we did not have a clue. What a bonding experience. It was crazy, but we're so thankful for it now. There's nothing that my husband cannot do. You know, there's nothing. There's just nothing because we did everything from day one. But anyway, routine. The best thing to do is this. You want to create a routine that fits your life. And when I say fits your life, I don't mean you. I mean family, all of you. It has to fit all of you. And that means that as much as possible, this routine has to be communicated with every member of the family. Okay. So age appropriate, but I would say from as young as, I mean, if they're younger than 3, they don't need, you just pick them up and transfer them to the next activity. But, you know, from that, when they start going to school, really, because my kids would dress themselves up for school, I don't go and start doing, no, I don't do any of that. They do that. But the point is, we agree. Till tomorrow, we still do that, especially in the summer holiday and at the weekends, we talk about how this week is going to look like. So when you set your routine, involve every member of your family. It has to be an agreed thing. They have to understand why we're doing this. Okay, so guys, we need to be at school at 8:30, and it takes us how long to get there? One of the kids answered, okay, cool. So in that case, okay, if it takes us half an hour, we need to leave this house at 8. Gosh, okay, how long does it take us to get ready? What time do we need to wake up? It's a conversation. Trust me, you want to do that because they're understanding why they're leaving at 8. So what time do we need to wake up? Oh, it takes me 5 minutes to get ready. I'm like, no, it doesn't take you 5 minutes. I think, in fact, it's a conversation. Okay, fine. How long? Mommy, I think it takes me about 10 minutes. Do you know what? Honestly, just to be safe, let's give you half an hour to get ready. So let's say we wake up at 7:30. It's a conversation. They're learning, they're understanding. So then when we set those boundaries, I'm just giving an example for getting ready in the morning. You do the same thing for bedtime and all of that. You take it step by step. And when we set those boundaries, it's now my responsibility to ensure that we all succeed. What that means is that I'm not trying to catch you out. I want you to win. So what that means is that I'll say to you, look, in order for you to wake up at 7:30, we have to really get to bed at this time. So there's another routine. We can talk about bedtime routine again. That's very important because if we get bedtime routine wrong, these children will not go to bed as we want. So that's a whole different conversation. You need to succeed in the routine in the morning, you have to get it right the day before. But whatever the routine is, it's agreed as a family. They have to understand the natural consequences. This is where natural consequences come in. If you are late, I'm not going to smack you. There will be a natural consequence of turning up to school late. That's your problem. You have to waltz in there late. That's your problem. These are natural consequences. So a natural consequence of you wasting your time is that you might have to end up in the car with one shoe on. And I tell you now, I'm prepared. I'm prepared. I might have the other shoe in my handbag, but you will walk to that car with one shoe. It's a natural consequence. But don't forget, I have set you up to win. So I make sure I wake you up on time. I make sure I have your clothes ready. I make sure I'm ready myself. You know, I'm setting you up to win, but you still decide that you want to do anyhow. You will face the natural consequence of your action, which is whatever it is, right? So even simple things like if my kids, they're supposed to do their homework at a certain time, they choose not to do it. And then they now say, oh, Mommy, I haven't done my homework. I have to do it Sunday night. No, darling. You're going to school with no homework. And I stick to that. And you deal with it. It's a natural consequence of not doing it when you were meant to do it. I'm not going to chase you around with a stick. Do your homework, giving myself hypertension. We set the boundaries, we set the rules, you face a natural consequence. It's a much better teacher than you always being there to respond when they don't do things. Hey, only you. No. So again, routines, everyone's involved, set them up to win, make sure you do everything so they can win, let them face natural consequences of not getting it right. But a very important thing is when we get in the car, we have to drive. So when we get in the car, we talk about it. So we did really well. The waking up was impeccable. We did so well with the waking up. How do we do with the breakfast? Oh, Mom, I could have done better with the breakfast. Oh, so-and-so wasted our time at breakfast. I'm like, okay, hold on. We discuss our performance because we are assessing ourselves. I say to them, I did excellently with my waking up, but I kind of messed up when it came to makeup. I couldn't quite get the, I tell them. So tomorrow, what can we do better? Because I'm teaching them. And so they say this. So this is the kind of thing. We talk about how we did, but I make sure it's as positive as possible. It's not my time to start saying, you did this, because if you do that, they're not learning. They are just feeling punished for not being perfect. And that's why if you punish a child, even with your words, for not being perfect, tomorrow they don't want to try. I don't want to try. I don't want to try because if I get it wrong, you'll start shouting at me. So I don't want to try. This is why we want to encourage them. Okay, the breakfast time, you didn't quite, that's fine. Nick, what can we do to do better with breakfast? Maybe pick your breakfast earlier than before. That's the kind of conversation we have. We always reflect on our performance to highlight our successes and encourage each other for what we didn't do as well. Now, in my kids' case, and you'll notice this in your kids' case, there's always a reward. And again, a natural reward that comes from getting in the car on time and getting to school on time. For my kids, they are in 2 different schools, not too far away. And they always like to be dropped first. So the first person that gets ready gets dropped first. Oh, you are the first to be ready. The natural reward, it's a reward. It's not buying you sweets. It's a natural reward that follows what we've done. You will be dropped first. The reason why you like to be dropped first is because the second person has to walk. Because wherever I drop that first person, that's where the car gets parked and I have to walk with the other person to their school. Oh, I don't want that. You see what I mean? Okay, but it's not, again, I'm not saying that's your punishment. It's like, oh, okay, so you were first, well done. We've all done very well. I'm going to drop you off. I'll walk with you. We'll still make it fun. We'll still have a good time, but you don't like the fact that you're walking. Right, I'll pause.
Thank you so much. But as you were speaking, a question just came to my mind. And it's, in all of this, how do you guard against shame as a parent? So, internally, you're able to say it's a natural consequence that your child comes late to school. But then there's that part of you as a parent that feels that if your child comes late to school, you're perceived as a failed parent.
Okay.
As not meeting up to an external expectation that the community has of you. So that's partly why we think that we need to step in the gap to try and make sure that they're there on time so they show up, because we don't want to be viewed as failures. We don't want people outside to look at us and see, wow, that parent is so scattered. Because I'm just thinking about it in my head and I'm like, I can't imagine going down the elevator with one of my children wearing one shoe and the other person not wearing, and then bumping into a neighbor. I don't know, you feel a bit like, this is a bit.
Yeah, I love it. I love that question. And that's because, as you said, if you think about it, all of what you've said is such a good question, but that's also very much your own hiccups. Nothing to do with the success of your child. You see what I mean? And we all have that. We all have that. And for me, I feel like, honestly, I don't know why I didn't even think of that, because that's such a perfect question. When we parent, we don't want to look a certain way, but we have to remember that's on us. That's our own thing. For me, because I've decided with my kids, I want them to be their best selves. I don't care what you think. You are not part of my consideration. In fact, when I have allowed them to go to school late, I have had a word with I remember once when I did it, and it doesn't happen very often. These natural consequences, they deal with themselves very easily. The child doesn't want it again. And when he went, I had a word with the lady at the gate and said, he wasn't really listening this morning. And I had that conversation. I said, well, she's like, oh, don't worry. So she understood what I was doing and what I was trying to teach him. So you can have, if those things really bother you, for me personally, it doesn't bother me. I remember this time I'm talking to you about my son going to supermarket with 2 different shoes. I had people looking at me, but I don't care. Because in that example, I was teaching him I always give my kids a choice, 2 choices, pick what you want to wear, because I want them to enjoy decision making. Because when they grow older, that's what they need to do. So I'm teaching them decision making now with something simple as clothes. And so I put the clothes for him to pick out. It didn't even occur to me that he would take one shoe from here and one shoe from there, until he came out with the 2 different shoes. I was like, oh my gosh, I should have said this one goes in that. He was only 2 or 3. And so he came out with the 1 each. And I said, oh, are you ready? And he said, yeah. And at that point, I could have said, no, you were, the pride with which he came out that he had chosen his own shoes and was ready to go. He's made a decision. I could have killed that situation by going, wow, no, you picked the wrong. No, I let him. And he proudly went out with different shoes. We were only going to the supermarket. So God, don't forget that when we're going to church, I don't ask him to pick and do anyhow. And that situation even helped me learn. We're only going to the supermarket. So my point is, you want opportunities to teach them and help them. If I had corrected him at that point, it would have made him question himself when he has another chance to make a decision. And that's why children start to lose confidence in decision making, because now they're not sure. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. He thought he was doing the right thing. Guess what? You have to weigh it up. Eventually, it's not going to take him very long to realize that everybody else seems to wear the same shoe. It took him a very short time to see, oh, and he worked it out himself. He's 6 now. He knows the right shoe to wear, but that moment could have destroyed all of that. So I would say, please don't, if you know what you're doing, and you know it's for the long-term benefit of your child, please focus on them. Don't worry about what other people say. If you're really concerned about how other people might look, then you can have a conversation with them. And I have no issue with my children going to school with half homework. I'm a teacher. I'm an academic. I know what it means to be academic, but I don't have any issue that my children don't go to school with perfect homework. They go with their expression of who they are and how they see it and how they understand it. You, teacher, you help them. That's your job. So don't cover up and try and help. You're not helping them. You're sort of protecting them and shielding them from the real world. And they don't flourish. They don't learn to handle themselves if we do that too much for them.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Charity has a question. We'll take a question because we're almost coming to the end of the pre.
Sorry, I'm sorry, you're going to have to say that again.
Okay, I said Charity has a question. We'll take a question now. As we're gradually coming to the end of the conversation, so we can start to allow people interject the questions. So Charity, you have
okay.
Hi, Ebiere. Thank you.
Charity.
Thank you so much for this. This is honestly quite enlightening, and I think for me it's even better because my daughter is like 8 months old, so it's like I'm learning.
Yes.
I'm seeing some little things that apply to me now. For example, I have no patience while feeding her. And in my mind, I want her to feed herself, but she just takes too much time and makes a huge mess, So I'm learning that that's on me. It's because I'm impatient and I want the place to be clean and I don't want her to make a mess. So thank you so much. This has been very enlightening for me. I wanted to talk about what Doinsola just mentioned with regards to shame, and just share an experience I had and how my husband kind of helped me through it. So my daughter didn't meet my parents for a really long time because of COVID and all of that. And so because it was just the two of us for a long time, she knew only me. She didn't even know her dad for the longest time. And she was very clingy. And so since I came back, I've been trying to go to my parents' house more often, just so she can get used to her grandparents. And the last time I was there, she cried the whole time. She didn't want my mom to carry her, and my mom made a statement. She was like, why are you too selective? If nobody likes you, people will not help you. And I didn't know it caught me some kind of way. I'm like, but mommy, you know the backstory, just be grateful or like chill, she will get to know you. We come here once a week for 2 hours. She will not just know you like that. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I didn't say anything, I just kept quiet. And then when we got down and we went to the car, in the car, my husband just told me, he was like, Charity, I hope you know that, the way she behaves and her, it's not a reflection of you as a good parent or a bad parent. She's an individual. Do you understand? Both of you are individuals. And the fact that she's not being friendly to them doesn't mean you're a bad parent.
No.
And you don't know when she's 1, she might be a completely different person. So don't take people's opinion outside and then judge yourself, judge how you're parenting. Don't use other people's opinions to judge whether you're a good parent or a bad parent. Yes, today she's not smiling with them, but then who knows when she's 1 year old, she may be best friends with them. But because your mom is saying, oh, she's selective, that doesn't mean you're a bad parent. And that doesn't reflect on the way you're parenting.
No.
So I just wanted to share that experience, you know,
Thank you.
in line with what Doing said about shame. That really, I didn't even know he saw that my face had changed, but I was so grateful, and I really appreciated the fact that, you know, he mentioned it to me, because in my mind, I'm like, but I'm trying here, like I'm bringing her every week so she can get to know you, and you're still even saying that she's selective. Like, okay, so what do you want me to do? How will I make her unselective? Like, I cannot enter her mind and tell her, don't be selective to these people. They are your grandparents. Do you understand? So I just wanted to, you know, when you spoke about shame and talked about that, it really resonated with me, just because I had this experience and I wanted to share. So thank you so much.
Honestly, thank you. I'm so glad. And I know that I have stories, we all have experiences. I have to respond to them. When people make us feel shame, we do things we don't want to do. And that's why it bothers us. So we have to not allow people control us with what they're saying. It's not their intention, but they make a comment, we take it in. I just honestly love what your husband said, because this is what happens with shame. They make a comment, they make us feel something, we take it in, and then we start to change our behavior, but we're resentful because it wasn't our intention. And we can't have that with our kids. Let me stress something with children. I'll tell you one thing I don't like. And when I say this, people always think, what's wrong with you? I don't like it when people say to children, when they see me, go and greet your auntie now, hug her. This is a human being. This is not, I keep stressing this thing. This child will choose. They are correct to be apprehended. You may have known me for all your life. This child has just met me. So what you're doing is that you are overtaking their natural senses to be cautious when they meet somebody that they haven't yet met. You are telling them, override it, hug her, it's your grandma, it's your auntie, hug, kiss, sit on her lap. I'm just like, guys, please don't do that, because what are you then teaching the child? Okay, so I don't like that. I always stress that, please, let's not do that with the kids. Let them show. And I love what you're doing, Charity. That's why I honestly support what you're doing. You are making the choice to take her to meet her grandparents, but she has to be allowed to find out and relate to them, where she cannot be forced, she should not be forced, and we shouldn't do that. Her behavior is actually perfectly normal for her age. Her attachment to you makes so much sense. And as she sees you more, like I'll jump and say one thing. This is the thing we do with children that is not fair. So let's say, Charity, I'm not even trying to, I hope you understand what I mean. Let's say it was a dog. Nobody will say, this is your dog. It's not hugging me straight away. In fact, they'll be like, let's wait till he knows us. We give the dog time to get to know us, but we don't want to give children time. I'm like, no. Please, let's not do that. Again, we see that, I love that children are spirit beings, so they choose people, they relate with people they're comfortable with, and it will take time. And they all have, when my kid was young, and let me not go into it, but thank you, Charity. That was great.
Wow, thank you so much, guys. Kinde, your hand popped up slightly, but then you put it down again.
Yes. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Okay. I have a question. So it's actually something that happened this evening. This afternoon, and I'll just quickly play the scenario. And based on everything you talked about today, I just want to know what I should have done better. So I don't know if I can go ahead, Director. Hello?
Kinde, you can go ahead.
Okay, so something rather peculiar happened this afternoon, because I actually cook for people, and today was one of those afternoons where, my entire dining room was filled with bowls of food for people, and my kids, they have never had any cause. I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. They've never had any cause to go around there. They know that the place is off limits, and at some point, I don't know, because there was someone who came around, or in the afternoon, another child that came around in the afternoon. I just came to the dining table and I saw that the three of them were dipping their hands into one of the bowls, and they've never done that before. I did not know how to react. So the next thing I did was to line up my own kids, my two kids, and I just like sort of like flogged them. Like I not like flogged, like I spanked them on their palms, and I told them never to do it again. And somehow there was an older person in the house, and she was insisting that I should spank them to the point in which they cried because she had seen their dad do that to them at one point, and that is the only way that they would get the message. So I don't know how I should have played that differently. If I had spoken with them, because they were really in high spirits. One of them was, the first one was really, really remorse. He was actually shaking. But the second one was like, her eye was like everywhere, like she didn't care. So I don't know if you can just speak to that.
Absolutely.
And of course, I had to do away with that bowl.
Yeah.
Like I had to do away with that bowl.
No, I understand. Okay, I think that's a great one. And it's always lovely when as you can see, I'm calm, I'm not in the situation. That's what actually makes me a good person to ask, because in the heat, God knows how I would have felt, right? So what you're doing by asking me is sort of taking yourself out of the situation and looking at it from a calm perspective. How could I have handled it? So that's a good thing. And the first thing that that I picked up, rather, I wrote down, there was another child, okay? So it's not to blame the other child, but the scenario changed. When you know in your own home what you do, but there's now someone extra. Either that person encourages you, or that person makes the situation look different, or that person, you want to look good for that person. It happens. We know. We understand that, right? So that just shows you there was a different scenario, and whatever playing. Okay. So that changes the scenario. The best thing and then the second child, as far as they're concerned, I can understand why they're thinking, what's the big deal? This child did, my older sibling did. So what are you looking at me for? I followed now, like not a big deal. So again, looking at it from their perspective makes a lot of sense. I love what you said. They would normally not do this, but things changed. There was someone else either they were trying to form for, or the situation just was different. And so this happened. Now, in that moment, I think you're absolutely right to show your disappointment, because it's disappointing. But I would not, now I know, I would not go crazy, right? Just hold on. And I want you to try and think about it this way. The key thing you want to do there is teach them something. And what I will be thinking is that I don't want to teach them not to dip their hand in a bowl of food, because they already know that. I want to teach them that whether there are other people around, whether the situation slightly changes, our values are our values in this home. That's really what I want them to learn. That nobody should sway you wherever you go. I don't care how old you are. I mean, when I'm talking to my children, I said to you, I don't look at them and say, no, I speak this to you. This is what I want you to learn. So based on what I know, the value I'm trying to teach you, I know that beating doesn't send that message. Beating will just tell you what you did was wrong. All you will learn from the beating is don't put your hand in the bowl, but you already knew that. So when you're older, a different scenario is going to play itself out. This time it's not going to be a bowl of rice. It's going to be something else. They're not going to learn not to follow the friend. They will do it again. You will have to beat them for that one. Then they'll do it again in another scenario. It will play out. You will have to continue to chase them around and beat when you could have taught. So in that situation, my children will know I am disappointed. What happened here? You know better than to do this, my goodness, and then I will take that bowl that cannot be used. I'm still very calm about it. And this is something I've learned. I take that bowl. I have to throw this in the bin now, guys. So they see I'm not happy and they see the result, and I throw this in the bin. In that moment, I'm not speaking to them about it. The reason why I'm not speaking to them about it is because if I speak to them about it, I will not achieve my higher goal, which is to teach them. If I speak to them about it when I'm so angry, I'm just going to, I told you my own was physical, or sorry, not physical, mine was more emotional. So I would say things, obviously I've learned now, but that I'm just putting myself back to before all of this. So I wouldn't. Later on, When everything is calm, I promise you this works every time. You will have peace. Your children will have peace and they will learn, they will come and hug you. Later on, when everything is calm, everything is, this is the teaching moment now. So this could be when it could be bedtime, it could be whatever time, and say, guys, let's talk about what happened today. And that's where you get the opportunity for them to express what happened in their own words, because I'm trying to fish out what's really disconnected, what they didn't put two and two together, because I want to teach them to be their best selves. Once you have that, you will start to know what response is. And something I've shared on my Instagram, which is very important, is pause. The power of the pause. You use the pause in every relationship, with your children, with your spouse, with your friends. You pause. Don't react in the moment, because if you do, you will not react the best way. And also, you will not have the best outcome or response from the person you're reacting to. Now, a final thing, I'm not necessarily asking you to answer, just want you to think about this. If it was me that just went there with a fork and knife and just thought, oh, rice, and I started to eat, I just want you to think about how you would respond. And that's just, so again, when we start to look at it differently and not see it as our children that should know better, they should, why would, when I ask, why should they know better? Why should I actually know better? I don't actually know. There's a bowl of rice there. Why? And I don't actually know why I should know better as a 5 or 3-year-old. But mommy will teach me, and then I'll know better. So I hope that helps. I love your example, Kenny. I hope that helps.
Thank you so much. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you so much.
Well, you know, there's something Ebiere said now, and it just drives a point home that sometimes we expect our children to instinctively know better. But that's why we are their disciples, their disciplers rather. That's why they are our disciples. We expect them to instinctively know better. And when you use the analogy of us being their disciples, and you use the analogy of the 12, of Jesus and the 12, and I remember when Peter cut off the ear of someone,
Mm.
and he had even been with the master a while. He had been there a while. He had seen the patterns of God. He had seen how God would normally expect that they react. But the first thing was not, Jesus picked up the ear, fixed the situation. So that's like the moment of the pause. That's the moment of the pause. That's like we can have a pause in that moment. We can have a pause in that situation. We can have a pause. And like we shouldn't, that is our job. Anytime we find that, we should start recognizing these moments as teaching moments, as moments to teach, as moments to instead of just disciplining moments. Like, because there's a tendency to think that all of the moments that would come up in our child's life means that we need to respond with the rod, or we need to respond with cane and with spanking. But then they are teachable moments, because they do not instinctively know anything. They do not instinctively know better, in a sense. You're shaping their value system. Their value system is being shaped. You're teaching them in the way that they should go, literally. So if they do something that is in opposition with it shows that there's a knowledge gap. And your role as the parent in that moment is to give the knowledge that they need, is to equip them with what they will need, so that if that situation presents itself in the future, they are able to make better choices and better decisions.
Absolutely.
Omolola, you raised your hand. I saw you briefly flash the screen while I was speaking. Okay.
Hello.
Yes, I did raise my hand. Good evening, everybody. I joined the program. I am from Nigeria. I am in Nigeria. I joined the program late, but when Ebiere was talking, I got something, and I want to ask a question. I have two daughters, ages 7 and 4. I commented the other time that it's my second daughter that is strong-willed. Like, when you say, oh, don't do this, it is that exact thing you have actually talked to her about not to do, like daring you, like, what will mommy do if I do? It is that exact thing she's gonna do. Take for instance, when we are preparing to go to school in the morning, taking breakfast and all that. Oh, the Shindara, I just have to do this fast, 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 so that you won't be late. It is that time that my daughter will decide to now slow down and, just be, and you get, there's no how, you get frustrated and you get angry. Don't you know we are running later? But if you tell her, oh, Shinara, don't do this, that thing exactly you asked her not to do is, so as a parent, how do you manage that? It's not as if she doesn't know, like, mommy said I shouldn't do it, but I just want to do it because I am strong-willed. I just want to go against whatever my mommy says. Parents, at that moment, how do you naturally calm down? You still want to tell her, no, you're not to do it. So that is my question.
Okay, I love it because honestly, you have just given a scenario from my home, and I'm sure you've given a scenario from other people's homes. But there are a few things I want to pick up. Again, perspective. If we look at it differently, we will respond to it differently. So I remember my baby. I don't think this baby was up to a month, and this baby was crying. There's just nothing I could do to calm the baby. In that moment, God forgive me. In that moment, I was sure that the baby was sent to freak me out and just to destroy my life. I was sure. I said, looking at the child, who sent you? Who sent you? You know what I mean? You, in that moment, start to think as parents that this child, as you said, is daring you. But actually, from that child's perspective, the baby I was carrying, they were just not comfortable. Nobody sent them. They were not out to get you. Exactly. But our perspective is that you are trying to try me. And I just want us to pause there. So this child, because I have one, and I know that quite a few of us admitted to having them, and they are the best, they're the greatest, they're wonderful. I love them. Because if mommy says, don't do this, I need to understand why. Mommy hasn't told me why. So I'm going to find out because I'm curious. And I want to know. That's all it is. So the thing that you've drawn her attention to that she's not to do, she doesn't understand why, but that curiosity, which you don't want to kill, which is beautiful, will cause her to explore. She wants to understand this thing. So we really want to, I'll tell you a challenge I had with my boys. Well, I always try and make it fun for them because then they get on board. A challenge I had with them is that mommy's not allowed to say no or stop it. So this is nothing to do with shouting. This is just no or stop it. So it's very easy for me to say, stop it, stop it. So in that, you're not actually teaching or explaining anything to them. Trust me. I think we're starting to realize actually with parenting, this thing is hard. It's because you're raising another human being. It would take a lot of work. There's no quick fix, but I tell you the rewards, if I was here to list the rewards I've gotten from how my children are as a result of these things I implemented, you will see that it's worth it. So, but again, just saying to them, stop it, wasn't actually teaching them anything. So we had that challenge. I had 10 lives, and every time I had said, stop it, I lost a life. So it forced me to construct sentences to explain to them why they shouldn't be doing a certain thing at that particular time. So again, just saying don't do it is not helping because she wants to know why, because she's got a beautiful natural gift of curiosity, which will serve her so well in her life. So please, let's just remember that. So that's one. Then the next thing, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. We're going to be late. That's your own agenda because it's not mine. This is the other thing we said, and I have a child like that. The more I rushed him, the more frustrating the morning was. So I had to learn, and I love them, I had to learn to change the scenario whenever it's not working. Let me just give you a different perspective. Whenever something is not working, like this morning time, if you continue Monday, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, Tuesday, hurry up, hurry up, Wednesday, quite frankly, at this point, you have to start saying to yourself, I have the power to create a different environment where all of us can succeed in. That's what I had to learn, because this story is very similar to mine. It's up to us as the adult, not to expect them to know what the time is. accurately gauge what 5 minutes is, accurately gauge what 10 minutes sounds like. Oh, no, they don't have the capacity to do that. But I can create an environment where we can all thrive. So I need to change something about the morning. So I had to change something. One of the things I had to change to help my child who will go slower. Look at what you said was so spot on. Go slower where you say go fast, fast. It's not that they're going slower, but in our eyes, we're just like, oh my gosh, this thing looks like this kettle will never boil as I'm staring at it. That's how it feels like. So I had to do certain things. Like number one, in my home, I had to then wake up earlier, which I hated. Sleep to the last minute. I had to wake up earlier to make sure I set the tone, to make sure I create things better. I had to build in playing with his Lego time because that was important. You see what I mean? I had to do that because I couldn't rush him. I realized I couldn't rush him from the bed to the shower to the car. This child wasn't having that. So I had to explain to him in our reflection time that, you know what, in order to have your Lego time, I have to wake you up half an hour earlier. We had to discuss this. Do you see what I mean? And so you have to find a way to create a different environment that the child can thrive in. Okay, so look, I don't know if I can respond to Martin's, but that's it. So I'm like, actually, the work is now on you. Go back, reflect, look at your environment. At what point, what can you do to enable her get ready quicker? And it doesn't involve rushing her. It involves something to do with the environment. Oh, maybe I can set our breakfast earlier. Maybe I can be fully ready so I don't feel fully ready before they wake up. That's what I had to do. I had to be fully ready before they wake up so that if anything presents itself last minute, I'm not worried about the fact that I still have to go and get ready. So something like that. Maybe I can, something, there will be something about it. Look for that thing, rearrange the environment and you'll see a difference. Then have the discussions. And one more thing, the discussion cannot be, you are making us say, that kind of discussion does not encourage progress. So the kind of discussion of, okay, what would you like to do in the morning? What are the 3 key things you'd like to do? Considering the time that we have, would you like to, let them understand decision-making and natural consequences. And then this same child said to me, please don't wake me up earlier anymore. I'm too tired. I said, in that case, we can't do the Lego in the morning, can we? Natural consequence. They have to learn that. So again, I feel like we're rushing, but sorry, I hope I helped them. And I don't mind if you reach out to me later if you want to ask some more. Go on, Dave.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Ebiere.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ebiere, for that. If I hear anything loudly, it's also the fact that as parents, it's our responsibility to correctly judge our children's intent. We assume that they are trying to try you. We assume that they are trying to dare you. We oftentimes say believe the best of everybody, but also we forget to apply that to our children, and we decide to believe the worst of them. So when they do something that we do not find pleasurable, or we do not find in line with what we want, we immediately assume the worst instead of assuming the best.
Yeah.
We immediately think that we think that their intentions will always be the worst. And because of that, there's already that bridge, there's already that gap, there's already that thing that impedes us from actually crossing the bridge over to the other side to find out, okay, what was actually going on in your head? Because you've already assumed the worst in that situation. So I think that our responsibility is also to extend that same grace that we extend to our adult friends and say, we believe the best of everyone. We need to start to believe the best of our children as well. We need to get to the point where we believe the best of them. We believe that they do not come with any malicious intent. They've not been sent by anyone to try you. And yeah, literally. Okay, we have one more question. And it's on nurturing their gifts. Jumoke, we will take your question. I don't want us to gloss over this question. I don't want us to miss the opportunity to ask Ebiere this question as well. So we will take your question, Jumoke, because I can see that your hand is raised. But then, Ebiere, can you just speak briefly to nurturing their gifts and not nurturing your expectations?
I love it. That's my number one thing. So you've hit home as my number one thing. So unfortunately, any answer I give you will be glossed over because it's just so much. So the key things to start with, we started with perspective, looking at your child as having a purpose, and your purpose is, your gift is tied to your purpose, right? Straight away. You are intentionally designed in order to fulfill that purpose. So from their height, the womb they were put in, their everything, I've got a 9-year-old son who wears size 12 adult shoes. He was this, adult shoes. So that, he was designed that way. Everything about their design is intentional. They also have natural gifts and talents. No child will turn up and say, hello, I'm a gifted. They don't have a clue. They just know that they naturally do things a certain way, right? I have got the language and the capacity to explain to you my gifts and my purpose. But guess what? Even then, I still have to learn the elevator speech, and I still have to, the whole thing, the elevator pitch, or what's it called? I think it's pitch instead of speech, one of the two. I have to learn the whole thing because I still don't know how to communicate my gifts as clearly as possible. But the best way that you see my gifts is by creating the environment and letting me do my thing. I'm so comfortable here. Put me somewhere else and I'll be the awkward girl in the corner. So the point I'm trying to make is with our kids, we want to allow them, create the environment. And that environment really just means there's no danger. That's it. And let them be. They will show you who they are from day one. I remember, and you all have these stories. I know we all have these stories, dropping my kid and nursery, and I watched him and he would throw a ball up and kick it. Perfect eye-foot coordination from he was a year old, I don't know how old, very young. Little things. Whenever I catch them doing something naturally, I then acknowledge that and say, oh, you seem to like this. So that, and because what you're trying to do is allow them to show you more. The more you accept and acknowledge and praise my gift, guess what? You're my friend. You're connecting with me. Because this thing that is a gift for me is so real to me. It's so real to me. It's so real to me. And every time you go against what's so real to me, you disconnect with me. You don't know me. So I say to parents, you want to let your child show you who they are, and you want to acknowledge, recognize, celebrate their gifts. If the gift doesn't meet what your expectation is, and you try to impose your expectation on them as opposed to allowing them be who they are, what you're saying is, this is true. And it's not going to sound very nice, but what you're saying is, I don't value who you are. That's so heartbreaking. It's like me telling you my question, like, but who cares about parenting? Please come and tell us about math. I think you teach math. You don't want to know me. And that's what we do with our children when we don't let them show us who they are and we impose our own thing. So the best thing to do is this. And then you are, you celebrate it, you acknowledge it, you make them feel, oh, I've noticed you like it, tell me what you like about it. If they're so young, they can't really communicate it, they'll just be showing you different ways, different things. Say, for example, with my son, he might pick up something with his right hand and throw it with his left. Oh, yeah, I see you very good with your left and your right, And I get involved in the gifts that they show me. I don't like playing football, but my kids have shown me a true passion, interest, and gift in sports. So I focus on that and I use their talent to elevate the maths, the English, and everything else. A lot of times we get it wrong. I teach maths, I've said this already. We get it wrong and we try and tell them that whatever is inside you, that's your own. No, it's not even very important. Come and learn the maths. And that's why they struggle with it, because you have not acknowledged who I am. You are suppressing, in fact, disrespecting who I really feel I am, even though I can't name it for you. You're not acknowledging that, and you are forcing me for your own agenda. And the truth is, we do that out of love because society has said maths is very important. So we then have that pressure. Oh, my child has to be good at maths and English, has to be good at reading, has to be from day one. No. So whatever they show you to be their gifts, someone has asked me before, what if the gift is ballet? What does ballet do? Look, let your child dance. The fact that I always say to my children, I don't say, oh, you're a gifted footballer, you're a footballer. I say athlete. And I say that because I'm still trying to allow them to be wide enough, because it could be whatever sport. But when I focus, I recognize, I acknowledge the athleticism, I then use that. I use the football pitch a lot of the time to teach my kids maths. I tell my kids, you know what, you're going to be, I can see you want to be, I can see you're talented, and I can see you want to be, professional athletes. Let me tell you something. I remember when I said this to my daughter, and he said he wanted to be a professional footballer. Lots of boys will probably say this, right? Oh, don't panic. It's great because he has a passion and he's so young. He's not trying to, he has a passion. So I said to him, do you know that anybody can be a footballer, but to be a professional, there's some key things you have to have. And to be a professional, you need to be diligent. You need to be responsible. You need to be organized. You need to be prepared. You need to be focused. And I said, you know what, and I'll teach you these things, because the footballer bit is your talent and you can do it. But that professional bit, to get to that professional level, there are key skills that you need to have. And so till tomorrow, I focus on teaching my kids key skills. What you do in nurturing it, so when we say nurture their gifts, I can't teach him football. I haven't got a clue, right? But I nurture his gift by acknowledging, praising, supporting him in that area. And I use that to teach him key skills that will actually help him in life: grit, determination, perseverance. When he tells me, Mommy, I just find this math so hard, I don't want to do it. I said, and when you find a game so hard, you just walk off the pitch. No, I won't do that. I'm like, why would you do that here? This is an opportunity for you to learn perseverance. Mommy, I hate DT. They're always asking us to make things. I said, let me tell you something. I don't like DT. But sometimes in life, we've got to do the things we don't like. That's responsibility. It's the same way you might have to play some games that you don't feel like. That's my constant conversation. Because once I talk about his gifted talent, he gets it. I say to him, look, you need to do this. Oh, Mommy, I don't like it. I say, but is it only the things you like you will do? So when your coach tells you have to do, and because I say that, I say, oh, I get it. I'm telling you this now, my 6-year-old, once I said to him, he was going out to play in the garden. And I said, what are you doing? Because at that point, she shouldn't be going out at that point. I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, I'm taking initiative, Mommy. And I thought, what do you mean? I'm going to practice my drills. And once he said that, he used my language, because I've taught him taking initiative. And guess where I taught him taking initiative? I said, you know what? When you take initiative, that shows your responsibility. And guess what? When it came to brushing his teeth, I say to my kids, you need to take the initiative to brush your teeth. It cannot be my responsibility to keep your teeth clean. You have to take the initiative. These kinds of conversations, they understand it because you're speaking their language in the environment, in the things that they love. So when you bring it up in a different scenario, they get it. And let me tell you, my kids don't have hiccups with maths. They don't have hiccups with English. They don't have hiccups with those things. They might not be first in the class, but who first help? I'm trying to use that. I love that thing. They might not be first, but they are excellent. And I tell you what excellence is. They will try and they will try and they don't give up, because they know what it means not to let their team down. The number of times I've told them, you can't just let your team down. So when you're in the class and you're not getting something, you can't just let everything down by not trying. You have to give it your best at the last. You might surprise yourself and be the best. So these are the conversations. So that's a summary of nurturing their gifts. And I don't know if that's helped.
Well, that's a fantastic summary. And as you were speaking, I was getting more questions, and I'm like, oh my God, we're running out of time. Oh. But then, Jumoke, let's take your question, and let's see if I can sneak in my last question before we run off. Jumoke, you have the floor.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Jumoke. I'm in Nigeria. Yes, this question. When you have a child that is very similar to you, like she takes her time with everything. That's the way I am too. I take my time with everything, like bathing, eating, everything. So she's also like that. And we're trying to go to school, we're trying to keep to time, don't be late for school, okay, do this fast, put on this, put this on, and she's just taking her time. Or maybe we want to go to bed by let's say 8:30, and you've given her food since 7:30, she's still on the food till that 8:30. She has not even had her bath. She has not, and sometimes I get frustrated. I'll just keep, hurry up, do it, eat fast, and she's not even listening to me, or she's not just paying attention. She's just taking her time as she's doing. So how do I don't know. Sometimes I get so frustrated, especially when you are in a hurry or you need to do something and she's just wasting your time. How do I control that, or what do I do?
I love that. Thank you, Jumoke, because again, you hit the nail on the head with wasting your time. It's your agenda. We've gone through it. It is. It's not that it's a bad agenda. It's just yours. It's yours. It's not the child's agenda. So the first thing is you want them to be in bed by 8:30. You give her food at 7:30 and she's still doing like this. You have two choices. You can then give her food earlier and say, I see that you like to eat for an hour. So what I'm going to have to do is give you your food an hour earlier so that you can finish by 7:30 and so that we can move on to the next thing. Okay? Because being in bed at 8:30 is important for you, and you will be in bed at 8:30. You will be in bed at 8:30. So that's the boundary, right? You'll be in bed at 8:30. And there are too many brilliant reasons why, including the fact that I want you in bed early because I want to go and develop myself. I tell my kids, when you're sleeping, I'm reading. Don't eat into my time. Very important. So that 8:30 is crucial. But you have to set her up to win. Okay, it takes you an hour to eat. So we're going to have to give you food an hour earlier. So when you eat at that hour earlier, if you can manage that, if I don't know if that's something you're able to do, you eat an hour earlier, then you have more time and then you go to bed. We have to push everything back. Now that eating an hour earlier might now mean less playtime. It's going to eat into something else, which you will have to then realize, oh, okay, we now can't do this thing we normally do, because kids understand these things, because this is when we're going to eat. So you change it and she will start to realize why. That eating quickly, first of all, because eating slowly is not a bad thing. But the only way to get her to learn is by her understanding the implications, the natural consequences of not doing these things on time. Your other option is keep the food time at 7:30 if you want. And if she eats up to 8:30, then it might, because I always said bedtime is a very important thing. That's when I do stories. That's when I do quite a few things with them at bedtime. So my kids enjoy that, they look forward to it. This is true. I do all those things and then I put them in bed and then I'm off. But my point is, so if there's something she's going to miss, like, I can't tell you a story, something that she loves, again, a natural consequence, which she will understand that I need to respond quicker. I need to eat quicker. She doesn't understand the timing. She doesn't feel the same pressure that you feel. She has no internal, there's nothing in her that will make her think I've got to do this thing quicker. She's not thinking the way you're thinking. She doesn't even understand why she has to be at 8:30. So it's really up to you to create a different environment. As I said to you, you can change it to be earlier. You can say, okay, because it's taking you an hour to eat and bedtime's 8:30, you're still going to go to bed at 8:30. You can even say to her that, look, in this hour that I have, I need you to eat, I need you to bath, and I also need you to something else, maybe read a story. These three things have to happen in an hour. I believe that you can achieve these three things in an hour. Do you think you can achieve these three things in an hour? Yes, I think I can. No, Mommy, I only think I can do two. Okay, which two do you think you can do in the hour? I can do the eating and the reading. I know you really want them to bath, by the way. I get that. But let them pick. Okay, these are the two you think you can do? Okay, so if you think you can do this, let's aim to do these two in the hour. If we have any more time and we're able to get this done, we'll sneak in the third one. You are trying to encourage them to do better because you're thinking about the long-term implications. You're not trying to control them to perform how you want them to perform. So again, you're giving them choice, giving them ideas, allowing them make decisions, and allowing them feel the natural consequences and enjoy the natural rewards. It's still the same thing, whatever the scenario. I hope that helps, but it's still the same thing. You can change things around to enable them to succeed, and because you want them to learn. You want them to learn so that they can make these decisions themselves as well in future. Jumoke, I don't know if that helps.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you. I wasn't sure if I was on the point, but thank you. You can ask more later on if I didn't quite get it right. But
okay. So Ebiere, I'll just take one more question and
okay.
we'll round up. So my question is this. When you were speaking to nurturing the gifts and nurturing their gifts, you said something like who first help, right? And I'm sure that there's been a journey that you've had to go on as a parent to finally get to that point where the what's the word I'm looking for? The way society rates them doesn't really matter much to you anymore. Because you're comfortable with them not being first in class. So what journey have you gone on in your head as a parent to get to that point, such that you're not encouraging them to be complacent, you're not encouraging them to be lazy, but you are well comfortable with their giftings and you're well comfortable with their performance, and you think that yes, they are achieving at the best of their potential. You're not encouraging them to step back and not be competitive or whatever it is. I don't know if you understand my question.
I totally understand. And there are a couple of things I'll say to that. Number one, my kids are extremely competitive, very competitive. But I say to them, you don't see Usain Bolt swimming, do you? You need to push yourself and be competitive in your gifting. Why are you on somebody else's lane? And this is what society tries to get us to do. So I would say to my kids, you want to be the best that you can be. And the best you can be is according to, what gifts you were given. So they're very competitive, and I encourage them to be. I know some people say, oh, don't be, but it's what you're competing with. You're not competing with other people. You're competing to be your best. And I say to them, there's something I use, which is the 5-finger model. I keep saying I'll write about this, but I haven't. But it's the same thing I say to them, like, look, even though, I think I might be going slightly off, but even though you have a particular gift, you also have strengths in other areas. Those strengths might not come out because my kids honestly really do shine in athletics. And you'll find that with your kids as well. They will shine in an area. In the other areas on their hand, it's not the longest finger. It may not be the best, but you will still shine. You will do your best. It's very important because you're doing your best for you. You want to show that, you know what, I can really work at this thing. I can work to be better. So that's very important for me. So I still stress all those, competition, all that, but never with other people. I say to them, what do you think your friends think when they're about to blow the whistle or shoot the gun to start the race? They know you're going to win. But they have another field where they might shine, and all you can do in that situation is try your best. You never know. You might actually beat the best person, but you try your best. Now, in terms of not being moved by society, I'll be honest with you, this was something that happened to me even before I had kids. And that's because I felt that, and I know that we've all felt this, especially where we grew up, where we just feel like they won't just let you be who you are. You're just fighting who you are. There are people who went and did degrees that just, no, someone else said you're going to study to be this. And I've always had an issue with that. And I think being in education and a teacher for so long, I could see the unhappy children doing things, because I said to you, I teach 16 to 18-year-olds. So they are supposed to be applying to go to university. You ask them, so what do you enjoy? They don't know, because they were never allowed to notice what they enjoy. They were told what they will enjoy. It happens everywhere. So they don't even know. I say to them, what are you good at? What do you get? I don't know. This is true. And I probably have it's probably 1 in 15, maybe 1 in 10 that will know who they're supposed to be. Most of them do not know because we haven't allowed them to recognize the little gifted things about them. If my kid catches something with his left hand, I say, oh, have you noticed you catch with your left? That's how much I go through to make sure they understand the uniqueness in them. So in terms of, because I know the implications of that, before I even had kids, I'm not worried. If you say this isn't, because tomorrow you will now tell me, oh, by the way, we just want to make an announcement that math is no longer important. It's actually science. You'll be changing it. Then I'm like, oh my gosh, science. Following everything, anything anyone says. No, I'm not doing that. All I'm going to focus on is the gifts that my child was given, because that's what will make them great. nothing else. But guess what? If you ask my children, they will tell you the maths, the English. My kids read. I just want to stress, by the way. And I think I love the fact that I'm a teacher, and I love the fact that I'm a maths teacher, because I hope it will help you realize that I'm not against that stuff. And I can actually really help you with making your children very good at that. But I said, we cannot put that up over and above everything else. If we don't focus on what's actually important, they will not excel, rather, not exceed. They will not excel in those other areas. Reading is one thing I really push with my kids. And I say, you know why? Because when you read, it can take you to so many places, and you want to read and continue to learn. You want to be enlightened. I even tried it with French with my son. I said, so if you have to go and play against a French team, will you be speaking English? And then he straight away, he said to me, well, mommy, there'll be someone else who can speak English there. I don't need to learn French. I was like, oh, okay, I'll try another thing. But I really try and link every subject as much to their gift, and it makes them do well in those things.
Oh, thank you so much. All right, guys, thank you so much for this evening, Ebiere. If you would all agree with me, it's been such an enlightening time. So many light bulb moments, so many awesome moments. A lot of things, a lot of reflecting to do as parents, a lot of learning, a lot of unlearning, a lot of relearning to do as well. And if you would like to connect with Ebiere after this, she's up for, she can be contacted on Instagram. Ebiere, am I correct?
Yes, of course, please.
You can reach out to me and I'll reach out to her for you. Just yeah, you can reach out to her on Instagram. Her DM is open. You can
yes, please.
all of your questions. She's available to support us as we go on this journey. I think that the greatest thing you will do for yourself is not to speak up when you have issues. It's not to seek help when it is still amenable to change, when it's still amenable to solving. And I think it's important that we continue to have conversations like this. She's dropped her
if you'd like to,
in the chat section. So please follow Ebiere. Please follow her. DM her. Ask her all your questions. Nothing is stupid. Nothing is ridiculous when it comes to this journey of parenting. And it is my prayer that we would all get it right in the name of Jesus. And we will raise our children to become the fullness of everything that God has placed on the inside of them in the name of Jesus. Thank you guys so much for coming out this evening. The sessions are recorded. I will try as much as possible to make it available to everyone to watch afterwards. Thank you so much, guys. Goodbye.
Oh, thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Bye. Thank you for your kind words. Thank you, Doreen, for organizing this. Thank you so much.